I got laid off from my job in 2022. And to now go from having no staff, no income coming in like that for my nonprofit, and to now be where I want to say what we're probably, like I said, what close over operate on $1 million budget, right, for our nonprofit. With 10 staff members, 60 plus youth that we hire, it's having that faith, right? That if I didn't have the faith in God to believe that this was something that is something bigger than me, that this is just not my doing, I don't believe that I would have been able to accomplish the things that I was doing, because I just would have been like, how, right?
Hello, everyone. I am Dani Wigfall, and this is the Design Your Remarkable Life podcast. Here, I interview incredible individuals who are leaving their mark on the world, generating wealth, and charting their own course. So get your notepads out and let's get into it. All right, our next guest hits close to home. I've known him for quite a long time. We went to school together, and he's absolutely incredible. He has been doing community impact work, and I have been following his work and the things that he's doing for the city of Chicago, and it is remarkable. Okay, but it always wasn't rosy. He just recently got laid off, maybe about 2 years ago. And that layoff turned into a layup for his nonprofit. Okay, he went all in, and he's telling us all of the details of how he turned his layoff into building his nonprofit. And now it's making over $1 million a year. And that's just the beginning. Okay, the impact that he is having on the community of Chicago is remarkable. How he's changing lives is incredible. So we are excited to sit down and talk to him about how this layoff turned into the layup that is changing lives and will change generations. So without further ado, let's welcome Dr. Marlon Haywood, founder and CEO of the Urban Male Network. Marlon, it is so great to have you on the show. I've known you for so long. It's just, that's crazy. Like, when we were counting it back, like possibly, what do they call it? Elementary school.
Yeah, elementary school.
Yeah. Okay. So you are doing so much amazing work, and I want to dive into like what you're doing now, but how that all started. So did you start the Urban Male Network?
I did.
Yeah.
So actually, what's interesting is that I started mentoring at the local elementary in high school when I was in college. So when I was in college, I was a part of this organization called Black Male Initiative. And, with the Center for Black Studies, we used to go to the local elementary and high school. So from there, once I graduated from college, I asked the VP and the dean at the time, can I start a male mentoring group? And she was like, cool, because I was working for a program that helped, individuals get their GED. And the young men were not completing their GED at the same time as the young ladies. So when she said, cool, you can start it, that was the start of Urban Male Initiative at Malcolm X College officially, right? Like outside of college. And I started just as a group. I didn't know anything about starting a nonprofit. I actually remember feeling discouraged because I felt like I'm only working on like 5 to 7 guys. What impact am I going to make or do with just working with a small number? But I literally remember just actually taking myself to a scripture in the Bible that said, if you be faithful to a few things, right, I will make you rule over me. And so I was faithful and committed to working with those few guys. And then before I knew it, the program expanded to the main campus of Malcolm X College. Then I was teaching a class called the Urban Male College Success Course. And then those same gentlemen, I was taking them to the local elementary and high school. And so I was working with them. First, I would teach them like how to tie a tie, teach them about professionalism. And then they would take those same skills and they was teaching the guys at the local elementary, high school. And that is how we began to expand, into the community. And then now I turned it into a nonprofit where it went from Urban Male Initiative to Urban Male Network to where we are now in several locations, across the city of Chicago.
Awesome. Amazing. And you are doing amazing work. Where did it all like start as far as like even just having a passion? Like it's one thing to see like, okay, the men are, let's say, pacing at the women, at the same as women there. But like to have that passion to say, you know what, I'm going to be the person to help have an impact in this area. I'm going to be the person to make the change. Like, where did that attitude come from for you?
You know what? I grew up with my grandmother. My grandmother was
Mm-hmm.
always very instrumental in the community. She
Yeah.
would give people, she would help feed people in the community. She would, gather clothes and donate clothes to various families. And so seeing how she really believed in giving back, and she truly believed in that. So that was a start for me because I always spent so much time with her, and I just saw her dedication to helping other people. So when
Mm-hmm.
she passed, I was like, you know what? I want to be able to do the same thing and do this in honor of her name and her legacy. One of the things that we recently just did is that there was a vacant lot on the very block that I grew up on with my grandmother. And so we got that donated from the Cook County Land Bank. We took that lot, I wrote a grant to the city of Chicago, and then we transformed it to a basketball court. We did a mural in dedication to my grandmother on the fence of the gate that enters into the court, and we kind of put like a miniature golf, like space on this basketball court. So, it's definitely, watching and seeing her, and just not my grandmother, my aunts, my mother,
Yeah.
all of them, my whole entire family has always been about serving and giving back into the community. And I think that very DNA definitely is inside of me, but then also seeing it, young and then now being older, say, you know what, I can do that same thing and giving back to people in the community as well.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And how awesome. That is so awesome. Can you tell us, let's say if I want to get involved, or let's say I know some men in Chicago that want to be a part of the Urban Male Network, like what do they need to do to be involved, to participate, to partake?
Yeah, so you know what, they can reach out to us via our website, which is just urbanmalenetwork.org. So
Mhm.
URBANMALE network NETWORK.org. Or, they can find us on IG, Instagram, so which is Urban Male Network, and then or Facebook, Urban Male Network Chicago. So if you message us through any one of those platforms, you can, contact and reach us about volunteering, getting involved, with the organization. Or if people want to make a donation, you can make a donation on our
Yeah.
website.
Yeah.
That's always helpful as well.
Awesome. Awesome. So what would you say the bulk, if let's say I'm a male
Mhm.
in the Urban Male Network, what would you say would be like some of my goals? Is it like getting into college and you guys can help us with that? Can you help us with, how to dress for an interview? Where do you see like you guys having the most impact?
It varies, right?
Yeah.
We work with guys to help them with employment. So, like right now with the organization, we currently, through a partnership with the city of Chicago, it's called My Shot My Future. We hire 30 youth to kind of plan events or community events in the South Shore Greater Grand Crossing community. So this is a year-round program that they get hired to plan community events. So it's a localized type program, and they get paid to do it, and they're getting training in the fields of partnerships and planning, and and seeing what that looks like. We also do a program outside of that one to where we work with young men to kind of get them in college, get them into
Mm-hmm.
trade programs. And then throughout the year, we provide, whether that's through mental health services, we provide safe spaces with our after school programs, where we're doing boxing, we're doing culinary, we're doing music production, basketball. So,
Mm-hmm.
where you look at that time span after school, 3 to 6, that is the time that youth tend to get in trouble because their parents may not be home from work, they're outside, they're doing things they're not supposed to do. So we offer that in certain locations. And then throughout the school day, right, we do group facilitation to where we create a space where young men can feel free and open to have discussions and talk, and then to build brotherhood. And then to teach them about how do you deal with conflict resolution in a safe space, right? To where
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the issues that I think we look at in our communities is that people really don't know how to communicate.
Yeah.
They don't, they mental health, and I tell the guys that I deal with all the time, it's like mental health is a true issue that is facing our community where if somebody can shoot or kill somebody instantly, right, because they bumped into them or looked at them wrong. You already was having a bad day before you got to that particular individual. You just didn't talk about the problem or the situation that you was dealing with, and that was just the tip of the iceberg. So what we try to do is that offer those resources to let our young men know, one, that you have a support system, you have a positive network brotherhood, and
Yeah.
you have mentors that you can kind of be open, and then again providing a space for them just to be young men to enjoy themselves. So over the summer we plan all type of activities and events, from camping. We took them to Six Flags Great America, paintball, Sky Zone. We rented that out for them. We took them to Top Golf. We do basketball tournament, flag football tournament, and we don't charge anything for none of these particular activities that we do. And the
Mm-hmm.
goal is, I never want any of the young men that we work with to feel as though they don't have the funds or they can't participate. So we try to provide, everything that we do at no cost. So I try to raise the money in various ways to provide the support system.
That's amazing, Marlon. That is Dr. Marlon. That is amazing. Let me put some respect on the name, okay? That's amazing. And that's something that's so needed. And I'm glad you guys were looking at the time frame from like 3 to 6, like parents aren't home. This is the time they're getting in trouble because they're antsy. It's stuff you want to do, you want to get into, you want to be out, you want to do those things, and paying attention to that as well. And then providing these activities without the barriers of financial means,
Right.
yeah, that's powerful. So I would imagine there's been some hurdles in you just building this and
Mhm.
getting financing, getting grants, and all of that. Can you speak to a little bit about how you're making this happen, like behind the scenes? How are you making this work?
Interesting enough, right? So this is what I do full time. Right
Mm-hmm.
now, I have 5 full-time staff members and
Mm-hmm.
5 part-time staff members. So total, we have a little bit over 10, staff members that work. And outside of the youth that we hire, where we probably at about 50 to 60 youth that we have employed through us through partnerships with the state and with the city. Um, a lot of this, we're able to make happen through grants. Whether that is contracts through the city of Chicago, the state of Illinois, the Cook County, and through donations from private foundations, and then contracts. So we're a vendor with Chicago Public Schools, with charter school systems, and with the suburban schools as well. So all of this kind of allows us to do the work that we're doing. And I've actually started teaching classes on how to write grants, how to get government contracts, how to build on partnerships, and my classes have been packed actually. So I'm like, yeah, I think this is something people really want to learn. But it started with me is that when I got let go from my job, and
Mm-hmm.
my job had approached me at that time, the job that I was working for, and said, "Well, how would you feel about bringing on your nonprofit under us?" Well, then I had said no, and then probably about a couple of months after that, I ended up getting let go. And it was in that moment that, you know what, I was like, okay, cool. Well, now I'm just kind of focused on my nonprofit. That was motivation. That's what I did. Like I just focused since I was getting unemployment, and I was able to find me a grant to work to support my position. I said I'm
Yeah.
gonna just focus on growing my organization because it was already growing. We was already doing a lot of great work, and I'm glad that I bet on myself. And I tell people all the time, no one is going to believe in you like you believe in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that the same amount of time that you may put into working for someone else, and not saying it's bad to work for someone else, but you gotta put that same energy and work into believing in yourself. And I believed in what the work that we was doing, what we were offering, and I knew, I'm like, okay, you know what? If this organization is trying to take over my nonprofit, then it must be something about what it is that I'm doing. And so I took that, and I felt like I just got laser focused on like making
Yeah.
this. That's what I did.
That's amazing. That's awesome. Yeah. What would you say to people that maybe don't have that confidence in themselves, but they want to build something? They want to have some impact in their communities, in the world, but they may not necessarily have like that confidence to just go forward and to build it and to chart that course?
I would say, don't be afraid to start small. I think sometimes people have these ideas, they have these visions, right? And then everybody want to be like, I want to change the world. I want to build a homeless shelter, or I want to start a group for young ladies, or I hear so many people with ideas, and I always tell them like, when was the last time you just took some clothes to a homeless person that if you want to start a homeless shelter on the street? Where sometimes people looking at it is that, well, that's not the big thing. Well, everything does not have to start big, and should start small. And then once you start it, be consistent. Even if you feel like I'm not making an impact, or that what I'm doing, like, it doesn't make sense. But long as you know, like, in your heart, you know what? It may be one person, two, three, but that one person that you help can then end up helping 10 to 15 to 20 people, right?
Yeah.
That's the model that I kind of try to tell people. So one, just start somewhere. Two, once you start somewhere, then be consistent. The problem is that most people, they start something, but then they don't finish what they start. And then there's that I live by, is that life determines greatness through discipline. So you have to be disciplined to say, you know what, here's an obstacle, here's something that happened that I didn't like, but at the end of the day, I want to be able to kind of accomplish this, and finish what it is that I started.
Yeah.
That's the key, and that was when I started. I just started taking a group of guys out to eat, spending my own money, taking them to a rec. I didn't know anything about starting a nonprofit. And I didn't even realize or think that one day when I started in college, that this would be what I do full time. That I have a full that I'm that I a nonprofit that I started is now employing other people to help them feed their families and provide paychecks to them, right? To pay their bills. Like, so
Yeah.
I had to be disciplined enough and committed to then now not only am I supporting young men of color, but then I'm supporting adults and their families. And so for me, I think that kind of keeps me going. And so now my vision has been focused on sustainability of the organization, right? So what does it look like for the next 3, 5, 7, and 10 years? We're looking at bringing in that sustainability for funds. So then, when I transition out from the position, because I don't see myself doing this for the rest of my time, I told my team I want to be retired by 40. It's right. So that means
That means you got a few years there.
you know how we are. So that's a few years.
Yep.
That and not that I would be retired, not just doing anything, but I want to be, where I'm now doing other form of work, and maybe I'm traveling, doing consultant work, but then now I've built such a platform that they're able to carry it on, and I'm able to do other work. So that to me determine the greatness of the leader. So where when you move on, that the work that you started can continue on, and they are able to take that to the next level, right? So that's kind of the space that I'm looking to try to be in, with my organization and my work.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful.
So be consistent.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to start small, and then failure is unavoidable. Failure is a part, right? You learn from your failures, and then you get to a place that you say, you know what, how can I build on this and make myself better from the failure that happened? That's all a part of life.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that failure piece, because a lot of times we will have this plan, we want to go after it, but we don't pay attention that sometimes there may be hurdles in the plan. It's not going to go exactly to plan and just smooth sailing, right? So having that foresight of like, yeah, you may have some hurdles in here, but what matters is you getting back up. I also love how you talked about, like, actually, I loved everything that you said. I can hit on all of these points. But I think it's good to call out even just like starting small, starting with what you have, what can you do now? Like if you see this, and I think that's sometimes what stops us is we have this big vision of like, I want to do this so big, I'm not there yet, like there's no way I can do that.
Yeah.
And so that seems so far that sometimes it's hard to even just start, but really just breaking it down. And I do this a lot with my clients too. It's like, how can we make this manageable for right now? what does that look like?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, no, that's really good. I love that. Okay. So in building this and all of the journeys that you've had and how it's transformed, what would you say was a moment where you had a big challenge, like this is a challenge, or something happened that you weren't expecting?
I mean, I feel like I deal with challenges every day in my role. um, but I mean, it's multiple things. I would say that I really realized that one of the challenges that I would say that I realized, like, man, you know what, we are really growing as an organization and are really doing this thing
Yeah.
is like when I was told like what our monthly payroll was, I'm like, that's not monthly payroll. And we was waiting, for like two of our contracts, it was like from the government entities to reimburse us. So, as payroll was getting closer, so I'm like, wow, that's a large amount just for our monthly payroll that we have to pay. And that, but having a team, and that's why I tell people, right, you're only as good as the people that you surround yourself around. And this is what I tell the guys all the time, and I put it out there to them: your network is equal to your network. And so, I got a CFO, I got a COO, and I said, hey, we got payroll coming up. We haven't been reimbursed. What are your thoughts? Brainstorming some ideas off of them. They like, okay, well, this is what we need to do. This is how we can make this happen. In the meantime, interim to make sure that we kind of meet, payroll and do what we have to do. And so I think that to me, has been the thing, is that I'm always going to be presented with hurdles. I'm always going to be presented with challenges, but
Yeah.
it's having a team that I know that I have that support to kind of push through, which makes things a little bit more easier. That I know that I'm not in the challenge or in this fight by myself, to keep things pushing.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good. So you have community. What are some other things that really support you in, just really running this business, because it takes that community, but then also you had the support and just, I would say, the instruction and encouragement and kind of role model of your family, like your grandmother and everybody else that was instrumental in your life growing up. Are there any routines that you have in your life or anything that support you now that help carry you on or just, move throughout life in a more positive way that keeps you up versus like, ooh, I got all of these hurdles. And then sometimes we can just fall to the hurdles and just sit on that.
Yeah. Um, for me is my faith, right?
Yeah.
Having faith in God, because when I look at that, we are now in 2024. I got laid off from my job in 2022. And to now go from having no staff, no income coming in like that for my nonprofit, and to now be where I want to say what we're probably, like I said, we're close over, operate on $1 million budget, right, for our nonprofit. With 10 staff members, 60 plus youth that we hire, um, you know, it's having that faith, right? That if I didn't have the faith in God to believe
Yeah.
that this was something that is something bigger than me, that this is just not my doing, I don't believe that I would have been able to accomplish the things that I was doing, because I just would have been like, how, right?
Mm-hmm.
How is it going to happen? But I truly believed, right? And I
Yeah.
believed that there was more, for me, because even before I had got laid off, um, I never forget that it was something inside of me that said by September it's going to be time to leave. Now, when
Mm-hmm.
I got let go, it was in August. But when I started feeling that it was going to be time for me to leave and September was going to be that deadline, it was around June or July. And so then when I got to the place that, and the reason why September kept ringing in my spirit, in my mind, like September,
Mm-hmm.
September, September.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, even when it was just kind of revealed to me, like, September is like the 9th month, like birthing. Like, you're gonna birth something, you gotta carry, you gotta walk it out. So you have to take that time away to really birth and grow the thing that you're about to like birth. And so when they came and they told me like, we cut your position, like you go, I'm like, oh, this is just all confirmation right here, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
this is in confirmation. So as I was sitting there, I was actually excited. I was actually jumping for joy on the inside. My face was like just solid. It didn't change, but on the inside, I was like, this is straight confirmation. So for me, I took that. I just was like, all right, it's time to go to the next level. And even then, I had went. Like I promise you, I got this on video. Like people probably were like, I don't even believe you, but I promise you, it's on video. Like I would show anybody. I was visiting a church in like Indiana, and it was a visiting pastor, a visiting preacher. I'm sitting way in the back, I had a mask on, and then he says like, "Hey, you in the back with the blue black mask on?" And then I'm like, I'm turning around, I'm like, "You talking to me?" He's like, "Yeah." And then he said, "God has bigger than for you. He wants you to dream bigger than you've ever dreamed before." He said, "Think bigger, dream bigger." I don't even know what that means, but he said he's going to connect you to people in government that's going to fund your dreams. And then he says that there's going to be, he said, I see a building that you're going to get that you're not going to even have to pay for this building. He said it's not a house, it's not residential. I don't know what it's really going to be used for, but you're going to get a building, and but you're not going to have to pay for it. And what he said happened. Like I didn't understand it then. I'm like, what is he kind of referring to?
Yeah.
But now I understand, right? Like I dreamed bigger than I've ever dreamed before, right? I took the limits off about the possibilities of what it is that I can accomplish. The things that I tell people all the time, right? Every idea and every thought that's in your head, or just in yours and mine, everything that we're doing, everything that's around us, from the chair that I'm sitting in, the desk that I'm sitting at right now, and the microphone that you have, the headband that you got on your head, it was all an idea in somebody's head. That then had to come into realization from the idea, right? So what idea is in your head that somebody is waiting on to then manifest and then come into like reality? So the same thing that I think about, right, is that we all have ideas, and that every idea can become a reality, but it's like you have to start moving forward to make that particular thing happen. So when he said it, like, you're gonna walk to a building, I'm like, I instantly got into expectation mode. And I did, right? I got land donated to me from Cook County Land Bank. I received donation from a foundation to where I was able to purchase a building cash, a 3,400 square foot building for my nonprofit. And then so all of these things kind of happen after the fact, right? And I began to like expand my thinking and think about like the different possibilities and the way that I can kind of go about doing things. And like you said, like, I mean, we have the government contracts. Like when these about, you're going to be connected to people in government that's going to fund it. I'm like, how? What? Like I started to think about this, and my mind was like,
Yeah.
trying to figure all of this stuff out. But then now it's like, oh, it makes sense. Like I write grants. Now, I mean, then I'm writing grants, but the land that I told you about, I got the vacant lot donated. I wrote a grant to the city of Chicago because they had an RFP out, which is a request for proposal. And then I end up getting the grant, and then I was able to take that to then renovate the land that I had in honor of my grandmother. With another grant that I got, I was able to purchase a bus, purchase a van, purchase the building that I just told you about. Boy, now that's how I was able to take boys on trips. We took them to college tours, and like I had a vision, like, oh, I want to do a whole summer, nothing but free activities for boys. It was all paid for. And it was because, again, it's the possibilities that I began to think about, like, what is it next that we can do, that we can make happen? I just began to just think about that. I feel like I've been talking a lot, so I'm going to just...
No, that was good. That was good. I was like, let me just sit, because it was great. I mean, this is what we want to know, and it's so inspiring to hear. It's so inspiring to hear. And I'm just imagining, I know those guys are getting so much out of it because I just even remember being younger and the people that poured into me, especially being from South side of Chicago. If there's people that's really pouring into you at that time in your life, it's just powerful, and I studied in psychology, like kids really need just one mentor and they can gain so much resilience against anything, but that one mentor, that one parental figure, that one caregiver, that one teacher that's really pouring into you can really change their life dramatically. It's not money. It's not all of the things we may think it may be. No, it's literally one person that's just pouring into you. And so that's beautiful. And then now you're adding that community piece, oh, that's beautiful. I love it so much. And it's just so powerful that the work that you're doing and continuing to do, and then now going to have legacy for, because you're going to retire out and do something different. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's really good. So you gave us a lot of advice, a lot of your journey, and we are appreciative of you sharing that with us, from writing the grants to getting the buildings to starting small to sharing bits of your story. Is there anything for people that are building, let's say a nonprofit? Are there things that they should look out for? Because some nonprofits, they just have the reputation of not having any money, not being able to do it, just barely scraping by, like trying to, figure the things out. Do you have any tips for people that are building nonprofits at all?
Yeah, I mean, again, I would say write the vision
Mm.
down. I think a lot of time people don't really people don't really write their vision down, right? Um, and then right away you might not get money, right? I think people come to me, as I stated earlier, with ideas, but then I ask them, "What? Why can't you start now?" And they were like, "What do you mean I have no money?" I'm like, "Well, you can start small, because here's the thing: if you show people with little to no money what you can do, and then imagine if you give me money, how I can scale up." See, the thing is for me is that when I was doing the mentoring work that I was doing, I wasn't getting paid. I didn't even know you can get paid from doing the work that I do. It was just something I wanted to do to make a difference. I'm volunteering my time. I'm spending my money. I'm raising money to GoFundMe's. Like for years, I did that. And then it was a friend of mine that said, "You are doing great work. You should start posting it on social media." And I'm like, "I don't really want to do it. I feel like that's boasting and bragging." And he's like, "But there's so much negativity that happens on social media. People love to see positive work." So
Mhm.
then from there, I started actually taking, pictures and videos of the stuff that I was doing with the young men. And then I started posting it on social media. And that's when people started to take notice. It was like, "Hey, I would love to partner with you, or can you come to my school?" Even when I was doing motivational speaking, like I started taking those videos. And when I first started, I wasn't getting paid like at
Mhm.
all. Like probably the first year that I started speaking, I was just speaking at places. But I was taking those videos, posting it, and then before I knew it, I think I got my first speaking engagement out of town in Arizona. And that was probably one of the first times I actually got paid. I was like, "Oh wow, I'm getting paid for this."
Yeah.
um, but and after that, they had brought me back like 5 more times after that, right? Flying me in. But I said all that to say is that I wasn't getting paid, and I was just posting the videos and the content, putting it out there. And then people started to see me as like, "Oh, I see you as an expert." So now when it comes to dealing with young men of color, people see me as an expert. I never saw myself as an expert. I just saw myself as an advocate who wanted to make a difference. And
Yeah.
then because of that and my consistency, now people see me as like, "Oh man, Marlon is the expert in dealing with young men of color, dealing with
Mhm.
community, nonprofit management, started a nonprofit." But these are all things that I just happened to get into, as I call it, because I wanted to like make a difference in that.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. You mentioned that consistency piece. Take us back a little bit to when you got laid off from your job. You decided, you know what, I'm going all in with my nonprofit. What did your day to day look like with just showing up? What did that piece look like?
Well, I mean, you got to look at it. You got to think about it now, right? It's like I'm now laid off. I'm getting unemployment, so I
Mhm.
mean, I'm getting some money. But it's in the and now I got the money that I got obviously from whatever the severance package that they kind of give you. So I got some time where I have a choice in that matter. Was like, hey, I could just sit at home, kick my feet up, and don't do anything for these next couple of months, or I can like really like grind, and that's what I did. I was like on grind mode. I think for me is that I was looking for grants. I was going to different events. I was making calls to different schools. I was saying, hey, I have the ability, now where we can come into your school, provide service, as a mentorship organization, just seeing how we can kind of get that set up. So I was making calls to partners, community organizations. I was, figuring out how I can get my organization set up to go out the government grants. Like I started researching that. So once I researched, I started submitting paperwork, started getting that done. And then I was looking for all these different grants. And then I was up late at night, early in the morning, like writing and submitting grants to like different places. So I was just like grinding and I was just on top of it. So even though I was laid off, I was working more because I was in that space of trying to like really build and get us to the place that we are right now. And I think that's right there is a testament or something that I see with certain people. It's like life is always going to happen, right? Life be life, as people say. Failure is unavoidable, as I've said before. But it's also life is about perspective. You have the one perspective on one hand, it's like, you know what, woe is me, everything bad is happening. Or you can look at it like, here's an opportunity that I can have a better today than I did yesterday. Tomorrow is not today, and tomorrow is not the day before. Yeah. So, and then there's a story that I always tell people about the story of the storm and the rain. Well, you have one person in the same area that may be getting married and be like, oh my God, it's raining. This is like bad for my day. But then you have another person who may be down the street who's a farmer where it's probably been a drought and it hasn't rained, that they're thanking and praying God for the rain because now the crops can grow and then they can take that, sell it, and then feed their family. So it's like the situation is the same, but the perspectives are different based off the individuals. And so then what you have to ask yourself is that my situation may not necessarily change, but then how do I change my outlook and my perspective of that particular situation? And that goes back to consistency, right? So where some people, they become unmotivated because then they feel like my situation is not going to change, or what is the point? But then you have to then begin to change your outlook on the situation, right? So you can have a different perspective on it. So then that kind of keeps you motivated and then consistent in trying to make that thing happen. You might not see the change right away. Like, did I see what I have right now right away? I didn't, right? There was a few grants that I got denied. I'm like, man, it was like denied. But then it's like when I finally got that one, it was like, man, congrats. And then I got another one after that. I'm like, okay, cool. Like it's starting to come. But I had to be consistent and I didn't give up, but I also had to believe in myself, believe in my abilities. And I've always said to myself, like, I see myself being a full-time entrepreneur. Being a full-time entrepreneur is not easy. Like everybody now, like if you watch YouTube, you watch social media, everybody be like, oh my God, you could be go from being a 9 to 5 to this. It's a lot because you work more than you do when you work for someone, and you got to put in more time. Like if it's a holiday, then you probably working. For me, like some weekends I'm working, some nights. If I'm somewhere I gotta answer the phone. Like I was in Kenya, and we had an audit that we had to go through from our organization. Kenya's on a whole different time zone. Like it's 2:00 in the morning where I was at. I think it's like 2:00 in the afternoon in Chicago. Well, I had to be up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning Kenya time so I can make sure that we completed the audit that we were supposed to finish, right? So it's just those type of things that you have to like think about. Like, okay, when you the lead, you the head, you gotta make those sacrifices, and you gotta stay committed. And just because you work for yourself doesn't mean you work less. You actually work more. And sometimes you gotta then put yourself last if you got staff members, because you gotta then put them first before you put you.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, no, that's good. And that's signs of a great leader too, instead of it's just like, oh no, let me put myself first and then, but just coming together of like, no, we're a team, we're in this. I'm showing you leadership by like, I'm serving you, and then I'm putting myself last here. Yeah, no, that's good. That's
Right.
good. Awesome. Marlon, okay, we have to ask, okay, what does your day look like now? Now that you're here on a day to day, what does your day look like now? Are you still in that grind mode?
You know what? So now I'm in a season to where I'm learning like delegation, right? So
Ooh.
where at one point, my pastor actually said this to me, and it was something that stuck to me. He said that you can't be in the watchtower, but then also be in the valley at the same time. So what I mean by that is like, when you're at the head, you're in the watchtower, you're overlooking everything. But then it's like now you got to go back down the valley down there, like you're trying to make sure things are good. Then you're running back up and down. It's like you can't be on the lookout and then make it and see what is ahead when you constantly going back up and down, up and down. So then now I'm in a place that I used to be the finance person, the delivering the direct service, the
Mm-hmm.
CEO, the counselor. I still do a lot of those things. But then now, like, if it comes to anything with finances, somebody being paid, somebody check may be delayed, or a vendor got to get paid, or if we got to do receipts, like I got a finance person, I'd be like, talk to them, don't talk to them. If it's
Yeah.
operations, I got an operation person. I like talk to him. He handles that. If there are specific programs like with our youth and employment, I ask questions. I check in like, hey, how is this doing? But I got people in place that handle those things specifically or those areas. And then even now, like for all of our mentorship sites, I don't really do direct mentoring. Now I go in because the boys be like, "Where are you at? Why you wasn't
Mm-hmm.
here? We missed you." So, but I have staff to where I don't have to necessarily be there every day. To where I can be like, I'm going over here to this site. I'm going there, where I can focus more on, the day-to-day operations, looking for new grants, looking for new partnerships. So because that was a lot. Like I was at one point I was doing like 5 groups a day, and
Mm-hmm.
then still trying to respond to emails, do meetings, do grants and making sure vouchers and all of that stuff was submitted. But when you have a team that can handle that, and so that's the thing that I'm learning is like trusting my team, delegation, and then doing more check-ins. So now I just do more check-ins, like
Yeah.
how is this program going? Okay, this is what we need to be tweaking. This is what we need to be working. Let's do this. Or I kind of like be stopping by the sites, and then from there I'm like, okay, I saw we did this, but let's kind of tweak this and do this a little bit better. Let's plan a strategic planning meeting. So my role now, I feel like I'm more embracing the role as like the actual CEO leader, and really making sure that my team is empowered to do the work that they're doing. So then that allows me to kind of like do the work to kind of like keep the organization moving forward, and then look ahead about what's coming, right, as a leader. So that's more my focus, and I try to take the time to just do things that I like to do. So that's walking, going to movies. I love superhero movies.
Mm-hmm.
uh, Making sure I'm spending time like with my wife. I try to do
Mm-hmm.
that because I still have to be a husband, and
Mm-hmm.
just really just making sure that I'm not dedicating so much time to work, but then where I'm also making sure that I'm giving time to like myself, and that's the thing that I'm learning more in this season too, is that self-care is important. Like
Yes.
you don't want to overwork yourself, and I think if the pandemic has taught us anything, that it's okay to rest, that it's okay to take time off, that you don't want to overload yourself and then be in a stressful situation to where it's like all you do is work, all you do is worry about business, but then you don't take the time for you, and then now you're worrying about why you're stressed. People always ask me all the time like, "You don't look your age." Like,
Yeah, no, you don't.
I know, right? You don't either. But I look at some people who I am the same age as. And I'm like, Mom, we the same age, or sometimes they're younger than me.
Yeah.
And it's just a difference. But that's because I try to just enjoy life, like going out to eat. I go out to eat by myself. I go to the movies by myself. I go
Mhm.
walking. I go riding my bike. Like just simple things that I love to do. I try to make sure that I make time for those stuff, for those things. And so that is where, because I'm like, what's the point of being an entrepreneur if I'm working 7 days a week, if I'm working from sun up to sundown? So where like I went to homecoming this past weekend, I wasn't feeling well. I guess I was around too many people. I don't know, but I was able to literally like all day Monday, which is rare. I just laid in the bed because I still was taking phone calls, but I was in the bed. But
Yeah.
when you're an entrepreneur, you can do that, right? Like you can just say, you know what, I'm not gonna get up. I'm not gonna. But I intentionally didn't schedule any meetings
Mhm.
because I figured I'm like I might be tired and I might need to rest. So being in a space that you can, rearrange your schedule when needed, But again, my time is more so, when I'm looking at the day to day, is delegation, check
Yeah.
up, follow up with the team, and kind of looking at like how can we expand, grow, and be better in what we are doing now as an organization.
Mhm. Amazing. Amazing. Absolutely. That watchtower, being able to even just prepare the way, see what's coming, and have that foresight. You can't do that when you're down, as you said, in the valley. I usually say in the weeds. You just see the weeds. It's like, okay, let me take this one out. Let me take this one out, but you don't see the big old things that are coming forward. So I love that. That's awesome. So, okay, I love that you talked about just also having a life outside of work. Because I feel like as entrepreneurs, that's something that we can forget is like it becomes work, 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 work. And we don't realize sometimes we lose so many parts of ourselves, some possible relationships, because we get so focused in sometimes on the work, 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 but we don't prioritize like the self-care piece, the different relationships or friendships, or just things that we like to do. And so I'm glad you hit on how important that was, because that was actually one of my questions is like, okay, where do you put the boundaries up to like also live, and do the things that you enjoy doing, outside of work?
No, for sure that's important. Like now I'm getting to the place, like I just last night I put my phone on do not disturb, right? Because at one point it's like my phone just be vibrating, or it rings, and it's like no, I put on do not disturb, because what happens is you don't realize is that from the vibration, whether that's through group meets, group texts, or whatever, then that constant vibration from your phone is now waking you up. So then you're not getting a full night rest because then you're so focused on the vibration from your phone.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's the thing that I've kind of put more of my focus on is just taking the time for me and really enjoying life, because right now mental health is really a big thing. Back in the day, people really didn't talk about mental health. It was like, oh, that's only for crazy people, which I am glad now more people are talking about it. It's more of a big thing, and people are understanding the importance of self care. And I even tell people sometimes you got to turn off social media, because then when you get on Facebook or Instagram, whatever you're getting on, and it can contribute to your anxiety, either your anxiety or your depression. And one is because then comparison kills. And I tell people is that people don't understand is that the same way that social media, through likes and comments, all of that can kind of contribute to the dopamine effect, right? So when all of a sudden somebody likes your post or somebody comments something that, a picture, oh, you look great, you look good, oh my God, like the dopamine is just being all released. But the same way that if you see it that somebody you went to school with passed away, or you see that somebody got shot, or is now contributed to the cortisol, right, that's being released, or the stress. Then we're wondering, like, why am I so depressed? Why am I having so much anxiety? It's because what we are constantly viewing and allowing into our spirits, our minds, our emotions. And then it's like, then we wonder why we feel the way that we do because of what we
Mhm.
see every day on a daily basis.
Yeah, no, that's very true. It's so important to have like a filter and sometimes to just check in with yourself, as far as, okay, have I been taking in too much social media, doing a social media audit even? Who am I following? Do I feel drained? Do I feel horrible after looking at these different accounts, or do I feel inspired and ready to take on my day?
Yeah.
And being able to notice that, yeah, social media, a lot of people are more on their phone than anywhere else, more than the computers now, more than watching TV or getting the news, reading the newspaper, so just being mindful of like what you're taking in, is really important to exactly mental health. This is music to my ears for me being a therapist. I'm like, yes, please continue to preach this message because it's so important, and I'll have my clients go through like, okay, we're going to do a social media detox, or just like, and they discover so much more about themselves because it's like, wait, I'm so used to looking at other people that I lost who I am. And in that detox, they realize, what are the things that I value? What are the things that truly matter to me? Not what people say should matter, but what really matters to me. And then they can start going after those things and so on and so on. But it's such a powerful thing. So I'm so glad you mentioned that piece. Okay. So if people we already talked about want to be involved, but if people want to connect with you, or I don't know if you're connectable, can people connect with you?
Yeah. Do I seem like I'm
Yeah.
not a comfortable person?
No, you do. But I know you're in the watchtower. So
Here's the thing. When somebody try to connect me when I'm in the watchtower, I say, hey, when I got other team members down in the weeds of the valley, you can go connect with them. So I'm learning that when people connect with me, let me connect you with one of my team members if that's not something that I can carry out, that I can do.
Yeah.
And so that's something that's just kind of important to me for sure.
Awesome. Awesome. And can you remind us, where can we connect with you and where can we connect
Yeah.
with your organization, team members, and staff?
Yeah. So LinkedIn is just Dr. Marlon Haywood. And then my IG is Haywood M1. And then my Facebook is just Marlon Haywood. So you can connect with me on any one of those platforms to reach out, connect with me more. And I love to hear from people. So I have people reach out to me all the time in different capacities. So yeah, for sure, people reach out.
Awesome. Awesome. Marlon, I
Yeah.
don't know if you've heard this before, but I am so grateful that you got fired because of all of the things that you built.
You know what's so funny? My staff tell me that all the time. We're so thankful that they fired you. I'm like, I bet you are. I am too. Yeah.
It's so awesome. So what you're building, what you built already, and things like that. So thank you so much for sharing your story, sharing what you built. I'm excited for all of the things that are to come too, as well, because I just already know that this feels like it's just the beginning. This feels like it's just the beginning.
This is the
Yeah.
beginning. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so much more. And I can't wait to then we're gonna be like, oh my God, you said this, and then look, like when I just look back at just within the few years and the things that I've been able to accomplish, I've been like, wow, like even for me, like, I didn't realize like, and I'm gonna say this, and then I feel like I'm done saying my
No,
point.
you're fine. You're fine.
Like I didn't realize how important or the magnitude of what I was accomplishing when I got my doctorate at 30, right? So I started my nonprofit at 25. I got my doctorate by 30. To me, I was just like I had a black man. So you talked about a mentor. It was a black man. I had just graduated college from grad school. My first job out of college. And he came to me, he said, I see that you're doing great work in the community, like, with mentoring young men, but you need to get those three letters behind your name. That's how you can really make impact. And I'm like, I don't really need it because I'm doing this. He was just like, I got a colleague over at Roosevelt. I can make a phone call. There's a health disparities research fellowship at Rush. I can get you a net that can pay for your doctoral program. And I'm like, I don't even know about a health disparities research. I don't even know what that is. I didn't even know what health disparities was. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
understand fellowships. I didn't. And so he was just like, yeah, no, I'm gonna make some calls. I'm gonna help you. So he did. And I got the fellowship at Rush as a health disparities research fellow. And then from there, I got accepted, and then I enrolled into the doctoral program at Roosevelt. And then before I know it, by 30, I had my doctorate, completed this fellowship, working for Russian Breakthrough Medical Center. But it was all because a black man saw something in me and was like, look, I wanted to mentor and help you. And that's something that I never forget, right? And at that time, like I said, I didn't know or understand the magnitude about what it was. And I remember when I did it, I was like, well, what's next? Like, what am I going to be doing next? And not understanding that this is what I was going to be doing. I guess that's why I had to get the doctoral degree out the way, so then I'm not distracted by
True.
doing the work that I'm doing now. So
Yeah, that's powerful. That's good. That mentor, man, mentors can really change the game.
yeah, change the
And
game, change my life. Yeah, sure.
yeah, and you're changing other people's lives, and that's beautiful. Marlon, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for allowing me, I guess, the space to share my story. I enjoyed the
Yeah.
conversation. It was cool.
And one more thing before you go. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, leave it 5 stars, and share it with a friend. That incredibly helps our channel out. And we don't want you to miss any amazing nuggets that could change your life in any way or someone you know. So please share this with a friend and remember, you have the power to design your remarkable life.